Welcome back to another episode of Boomer Bust on the Boomer Bust channel. I'm your host Terry, and today we are talking about the linebackers for the 22 NFL draft. Let me think. I don't know. I was thinking about the trend for these linebackers, and I do think it's still pretty similar to what we've seen in the past. Not in the far past, but in the recent past, where linebackers are just they're different. They're different than what they used to be. We know the whole talk about a 3-down linebacker and all that, and so they've transformed. Not so much that they have transformed, but who they use as linebackers has transformed. However, I will say this year, in prepping the files, I was really shocked to see some of the measurables on some of these guys. Now, some of that didn't turn up, but for a good amount of them, it really did turn up to be pretty good on field, and that's impressive. I mean, we haven't seen size like that in the linebackers for a good minute, and so I enjoy that. I enjoy that a little bit, but for the most part in how they play, it's still the same thing. This idea of the sideline to sideline linebacker. As we know, the spread offense necessitated that change where you had to get guys who could play in space and they can go, the perimeter of the field. It wasn't just between the box. So we still see that. We still see some of that. The linebackers, I want, not this group in particular, but in general, the position I want to talk about. So linebackers are in an interesting place. I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, they're kind of becoming more like offensive linemen. Not 100%, but more like that. In the sense that you can do your job. Like, you could do a great job and nobody would really notice. And so that's pretty similar to the offensive lineman. If you're doing your job correctly, then there's going to be no spotlight on you. The only difference, obviously, linebackers can make splash plays, but you have a guy with a stuffed stat sheet or a couple splash plays and have somebody that has none of that, and they both did a good job, because the way it works with defense, I mean, the whole game of football, everybody has to do their job. And so you might be filling the right gap. You might be getting to the right zone. You might be taking away a passing lane, and that's never going to show up on the stat sheet. As opposed, to the edge rushers where they're really popular, everybody is looking to them to put up numbers. And corners too, where you have a great game and not really have any stats, but people tend to look, this receiver didn't catch this much, so the corner must did a good job. It's not 1-to-1, but they're trying to give that credit. So I think linebackers and safeties can be similar in that way, where you really just do your job and there's not a lot of fuss about it. And so with that, the linebacker position, the value of it does come into question, because I do think a lot of the stuff, and it's changing offensively, especially in the league, but a lot of the stuff that the spread era has introduced and all these different concepts, especially RPOs, you cannot defend that stuff without good linebackers. And even though, again, people have gotten players that can do their job, it's not being recognized as much. And so I don't know. I mean, I don't think linebackers have been as valued as of late. And so that's just the interesting thing. So anyway, Devin Lloyd, starting off with Utah. I like Devin Lloyd. I think he's got good potential. Definitely some things he can clean up, namely in his pass coverage. Like most of all defenders, they get in the pass coverage, they cover a lot of green grass, and they stare down quarterbacks, which is part of the gig. But what you need to be able to do, especially in this world where they love running crossers, is once you do see something in your zone, you need to convert to man. Some people call it plaster. You need to convert it from a zone and get to the man. And I think he's just really late on that. And he's too busy staring down the quarterback. And so that needs to change. You got to get better in that. And I don't really know his range. I watched a number of reps, and I just never got what his range is. So I think the combine will help with that. I think he's a good athlete, but his hips are a little bit linear, and so he is a little more straight line. But I'm wondering what his range is. Is he just a middle of the field type guy? Can he get out to the flat? All that good stuff. So those are my questions about him. The things I don't have questions about is his ability to take on blocks. He's blitzed off the edge quite a bit, and I think whatever they've done to work with his hands translates to when he plays linebacker, and he's not afraid of blocks, and he gets off blocks pretty cleanly, and so that allows him to get downhill and make plays. He's speaking of the edge, he's a great blitzer. I think, you do some type of exotic blitz, he might give you something on the edge. But for the most part, this is a guy that'll be coming down the middle and being pretty much a big plus in that blitz game because he's very explosive and strong as well. And the other thing I like, besides just his overall, he's 6'3", he got long arms. We'll see what he measures at. But he's got long arms. He can bat the ball down and all that. But I think he's a really good tackler. One of the better tacklers I've seen in a while. Open field tackles, and it's been getting better because it has to. But open field tackles are still the hardest thing. And he really smoked people. And so his tackling is great. And so with his size, his athleticism, all that ability, I do think he has probably the most potential or close to the most potential in the group. So then we go down to Nakobe Dean from Georgia, and I like his game a lot. He is built like kind of, I wouldn't say the typical linebacker, but for a while, linebackers were coming in at about 6 foot, 6'1", 5'11", 225, pretty much like a safety used to be. And that's the type of guy they had because they wanted them to run. So he's built kind of in that vein. Against some of these guys, it might seem a little undersized. I think, and we'll see what the measurement is, but I think his arm length is really where the issue might be. The only thing that gives me pause on is his ability to cover tight ends, especially the ones in the league. I don't know that he'll have the extension or the strength to really get with those guys if they're boxing them out. But other than that, man, excellent athlete, sideline to sideline. He's not scared of blocks. He'll get after blocks and he'll get off of them. He's a great blitzer, much like Lloyd. I think he's even better than Lloyd. He's explosive too. He shows some good hands, and his speed is just overall better. And his movement, his change of direction, his hips are great. So, great blitzer, very relentless. I like that. Again, good athlete, great athlete. Could really get to wherever you need him to get to in zone coverage. Not a lot of awareness, same thing, kind of green grass. But when he does see it, he converts quickly. So when he finds somebody, he gets to him, and he made a couple really big plays off of that, breaking on the ball. So I think he has excellent potential as far as coverage. He reminds me a good bit of Roquan, not just the Georgia thing, but his skill set. Not saying that's who he's going to be, but that's what he kind of reminds me of. But he's a gamer, spark plug. I really like him. Like I said, you get him out with some tight ends and stuff. I don't know how that's going to go, but running backs, I think he could completely shut all that down. So I like his potential. Christian Harris out of Alabama. A bit of a tough grade. I like him, just question mark. I'm not exactly sure what he is. Pretty good athlete, explosive, but he's got linear hips too. His change of direction is not that great. But he's explosive in a straight line, and obviously as a linebacker, that's a lot of it. Definitely not scared of contact. They blitzed him off the edge. They blitzed him up the middle. So he's not a stranger to getting off blocks. And I'm sure in Alabama, he's had good work with that. And he showed really good ability on the edge. I don't think he's going to be a pass rusher or anything. But, again, in those blitz situations, I think that's an added bonus. Coverage, he, much like everybody else, just kind of sitting there in space, covering green grass, looking at the quarterback. But I think he's got some good potential. There's a few plays that I saw where when he wants to run, he can get to a spot. And so I don't know with his hips if he's able to drop into those zones, but at least if you need to have him bail into a zone or something, he might be able to. So definitely going to have to be some cleaning up with him, but I'll be interested to see where he goes. I think he has some interesting potential. Then we got Darion Beaver, Cincinnati. Look, 6'4", 255. It sounded great. It was not great. This man is slow. This man is just not look, he has great hips, though. When you talk about that, out of the entire group, he might have some of the best hips. He can move in the short area for sure. He can change direction quick, but he can't run fast. He's very slow. And the other problem is he's not a downhill guy. You just usually get the old school guy, 6'4", 255, not fast, but can strike downhill. He doesn't strike downhill that hard. He can sometimes because it's a big dude moving, but for the most part, he kind of sifts through traffic. And I talk about that as far as grading linebackers. The run through, which we don't really see that much anymore in the league. A lot of it is just kind of hopping, sifting through traffic, as I call it, because it's pure reactionary. Like play recognition is one of the gradable traits I have, and honestly, every year I start to wonder if I need it. Because nobody reads anything anymore. Nobody reads the play. Nobody reads keys. They just kind of react. And they are either key in the backfield or the quarterback, whatever. And they just kind of react to it. It's not really diagnosing anything anymore these days. So, but anyway, he doesn't come downhill. He's not a thumper or striker or anything for as big as he is. Doesn't give you much on the pass rush. I think, honestly, he might potentially be like an elephant linebacker. But the nickel is what you see mostly. So he wouldn't be there a lot, but he might be kind of that strong side backer in the odd front. That might be what he ends up doing, but that's a small role. I'm not sure how far he makes it in the league, unless he loses weight and gets faster. But man, he might shock me. There's some people really slow on tape, run well. So if he runs well, we'll see. But on tape, I just thought he was really slow. Damone Clark, I can't remember. I really liked him. 6'3", 245, big size, really fast. Not narrow. What's the word? Linear hips, not very great change of direction, but really fast in a straight line and really explosive. When he turns and runs, he can go get it. And so for somebody that size, it was great. Definitely takes on blocks well, blitzes well. The thing with him is the same thing with everybody else, kind of the coverage. And the problem for me is I think he can get to spots in coverage, but he does not convert at all. Like he sits, like even when the receiver is sitting in front of him, he doesn't go and converts to man and plaster. He just sits there and wait for the throw, then he rallies to it. And, that could be fixed. But, his coverage has a lot to be desired. But I really enjoyed him. I really thought he's kind of been, at least from what I've heard, not heard, but from what I've seen, I really think he's kind of being a little bit undervalued. So, I think he could be really good. Jojo Damon from Nebraska, interesting prospect. Look, here's the thing. He played, a lot of people call it star nickel. It's a lot of different things. And it was cool. So the thing about him is he's got some experience that most linebackers don't have. Most people aren't full-time, like, star position nickel guys like that at linebacker. And so he's in space a lot and sometimes on the edge. So you get linebackers, stacked linebackers that aren't always used to being in space, that have to get used to that. He's got that experience, but he doesn't have the experience of being just a normal downhill linebacker. And his tendencies show it. You got too many times where receivers were blocking him. Receivers that shouldn't be at all. And so that's a question. Obviously a very good athlete, moves well in space. Can he have that physicality as a stacked linebacker? Can he, come downhill and strike people, get off a block, strike people? That's the question. Also, his pass coverage wasn't that great. I mean, he could move, but he did not have awareness at all. There's so many times he ran past receivers. And I think it'll be intriguing if some team is like, hey, this guy has a lot of nickel potential, or at least even if he's a weak side backer, we could bump him out. And so I'm curious if that'll help his stock or if he's just a tweener that won't really have anything. We'll kind of see. Quay Walker from Georgia, really liked him, much like Clark. I mean, 6'3", 240, really good athlete. Hips are slightly stiff, but, fast. And so he's playing next to Dean, so obviously he's not going to look as fast. But he was great, man. I think there's a lot of times he made better plays than Dean. And so he's obviously not the athlete he is, but, at that size and that production and that ability to move, I do think he has massive potential. And so I think he's definitely a sleeper and could be really good. And then last is Chad Muma. He's an interesting guy. I really don't know, man, especially when you get guys in the lower level, because it's like, how does this compare to NFL speed? He goes hard. That's one thing we could say. His motor's crazy. He comes downhill old school. We talk about run through. This is a guy that's not sitting there hopping around waiting. He triggers. When he sees it, he comes downhill, and so he smacks him. I remember the last guy, at least that I watched, was Juelle, something like that, from Iowa, and then went to Denver. Look, he made some bones in the league, but I don't know that he ever became anything special. And I feel the same way about Chapman Wall. He's not a crazy athlete. He goes hard. He's got good size. Logan Wilson's doing his thing. I know he's recently out of Wyoming, so people might think about that. But I don't know. I don't see you ever putting this guy in man coverage. That's just scary. His blitzing is about average. We'll see. We'll see. I think zone is fine. I think he's going to chase things down, but we just got to see what's his level of athleticism compared to the NFL. So, all right, so that's it for me. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.